Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where in the world you are joining me from. I am Illuminati, and this is the Crypto and Cognac podcast show, as always, live every Thursday, 7 p.m. sharp Atlantic Standard Time from the Caribbean, right here on YouTube. And if I'm here, you know what it is, any day, right? And while I get ready to have myself a shot. I'm gonna have a shot of Hennessy. I'm gonna have a few shots this evening. I have no ice today. My Henny is chilled, but we still gonna do some housekeeping. We still gonna touch on the ice rule, right? No matter what a scammer tells you, nothing that you hear here this evening, last evening, or any evening to come should be misconstrued as being financial advice. This is not a financial advisory podcast. Me, I am not a financial advisor. So remember to drink, degen, and drive responsibly. Salute. Guys, it's the night before the holiday here in the Caribbean, here in Trinidad and Tobago. Happy Emancipation to all of you. Shout out to everybody loading up in the chat already. My boy Stevie, always present. Today, we are talking about the White House Digital Assets Report, something that has been, I guess, a little bit long awaited, but I think ultimately, like most things in this space, it's one of those things where you buy the rumor and you sell the news, right? Because a lot of people were very, very excited about, what um, the details of this report would do for the market. And I think it has created a lot of clarity, which unfortunately is not one of those sexy things, you know what I mean? It's not one of those things that are gonna light retail on fire, you know what I mean? It's the things that are gonna be built coming out of this report that I think are gonna be important in terms of moving the price action in the way that some of us in this space like to see it happen. But for me, as someone who's operated, worked, lived in the financial services space, the traditional financial services space for my entire career, someone who has operated in highly regulated industries for all my career, I see this as being key in terms of moving the adoption needle associated with crypto and blockchain forward. Of course, I do have my hesitations about this thing going too traditional, because the whole idea is to repair all the faults that we currently have in the traditional financial system and not just to replicate it. So, with that said, I am one of those people who agrees that this was timely, it was necessary. It has and will continue to be the foundation on which clarity is built in this space, especially as it relates to the regulatory framework. I think it has done what it has done already is to create clear authority for the CFTC over spot markets for non-security digital assets. I think that was necessary. It has pointed to and made recommendations as it relates to coordination between the SEC and the CFTC, an area where we have seen a lot of friction previously. And I think what we're going to see is a more unified framework, a more unified regulatory framework moving forward. And A lot of people are already calling it the crypto Bible. I don't know about the crypto Bible, but definitely it is the, I guess, the Uncle Sam's version of the crypto Bible. It is going to be used to help build or build frameworks for regulatory sandboxes, DeFi friendly structures, and other areas of operational focus for institutions who want to participate in this space, whether it be directly in the financial services or companies that want to partake in it, either through treasury, in it via payments, in it via any of the various utilities that we know exist in this crypto space, whether it be NFTs. I'm not talking here about art or even profile picture NFTs, but real utility NFTs. So I think it's definitely going to create a lot of clarity for those institutions, and it's going to help foster the adoption that I've always said is inevitable. I think we're going to see a major rally around the more established tokens like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, like Solana, some of the blockchains where a lot of these activities are going to be built upon. Ethereum, Solana, particularly. And I think ultimately what we're going to see is, I think this is going to be the first step in terms of a marker being put down for Western governments in terms of how they are going to address this shifting climate as it relates to crypto and blockchain, right? Because the fact of the matter is, this does represent a significant shift in the attitude towards blockchain. I think there will be some hesitation because we have already seen the significant shift from the Biden administration to the Trump administration. This is President Trump's final term in office. People might be very hesitant about making long-term decisions that another administration might undo. But I think we're going to see the framework built over the next 4 years plant enough of a seed where enough advocacy, enough lobbying, enough capital intensive structures are going to put things in place that we're going to see all the structures set out in this report stay around for a very long time, right? Again, President Trump has said clearly his aim is for the US to become global leaders in the crypto space. He sees the threats by his closest enemies, if there's such a thing, and he wants to put things in place. Obviously, he has some personal interest as it relates to his own companies and the companies of his families. So, yeah. What we're seeing right now is that the market is pulling back. It's having a bit of a pullback. And again, like I said before, I think it's because people had really high expectations of what this report would say and how it would influence the market. But I think what we've seen is that the report findings seem to be a lot more what's the right word, aspirational rather than immediate. You know what I mean? Like they are putting a framework in place to build certain things. So it's not just that everything is going to happen right now. It basically has laid out things as it relates to the Genius Act and stable coin legislation, and we're going to see how that continues to evolve. We've seen the clear division of labor between the SEC and the CFTC, which basically aims to resolve long-standing jurisdictional ambiguity, because there was a lot of questions about who fell where, who was responsible for what. We saw both bodies bringing similar actions and all this kind of madness. So I think that has definitely helped. I think critics will argue that close ties to crypto insiders and financial motivated actors has set this up to, I guess, not be taken seriously, because it feels as though people have put things in there that seek to benefit them directly. But I think for the most part, outside of outright scams, I think those things will have a extended beneficial impact on the growth of the blockchain space. I think for the Caribbean particularly, this clarity is going to help us in a particular area that is near and dear to us in terms of remittances. I think the clarity around stable coins is going to help us particularly. I mean, we know what very, very early on, maybe season 1 or season 2, we talked about how significantly crypto can be impactful to the remittance environment, which we in the Caribbean are very much reliant on. Regulatory harmonization, of course, what happens in the US, because most of our intermediary banking is done through the US, we are going to see a bit of an alignment of our banking structures with the US. So possibly what we could see is a softening of the approach of our regional banks to crypto, and maybe that frees things up for us here in terms of crypto on-ramping and off-ramping. And I think what it does, it forces the few nascent industries that were blossoming in the Caribbean. It forces the governments and the regulators around them to make a decision very quickly as to whether or not they want to support those industries and have them grow and thrive, or lose out to what is coming in bigger jurisdictions like the US. So do we want to prepare our local and nascent industries to continue to thrive in this space? Or are we going to sit back as always and watch the Caribbean take a backseat to development, to innovation, to all of this? A lot of people are talking a good talk. Everybody's talking about innovation. Everybody's talking about digital sandboxes, and everybody's talking about digitization and all these buzzwords. But I think because of what is happening now, we're going to see these governments kind of be forced to make a decision either which way. We'll see where we go from there. But ultimately, I think this is something that people should take a look at themselves, take some time out, read it. At the end of the day, what is in it is not going to impact you directly just yet. But especially for those of us who want to work, learn, build organizations in this space, I think it's going to be key for us to understand what's coming next and to align ourselves to the opportunities. So do what you got to do, right? Guys, this is episode 29 already, which is kind of crazy to me. This is the penultimate episode for the season. Next week, season 30, the final episode of season 6. That seems crazy to say. So lock in. Let's have some fun. Let's chop it up. It seems like we're gonna miss potentially the top end of the cycle. We're gonna be away for a few weeks, but hopefully we're back just in time to celebrate the blow off top, to celebrate the altcoin season. Tell me what you're looking forward to. Tell me how 2025 have gone for you so far in this crazy cryptic world of cryptocurrency, right? As always, I forgot I didn't cover this. As always, adoption is inevitable. Illuminati out. Guys, be blessed. Yes, Stephen. I serious dog. Have a blessed one, guys. Until next time, next week. Illuminati out.